So it's all to play for still.
I think so. Do you want to bet against us?
Hello, Villa fans, and welcome to For the Love of Paul McGrath podcast on this Saturday afternoon or evening, night, I suppose, really, if the truth be told. I just wanted to pop on. I wanted to talk about Mohammed Kudus for two reasons. Just seems to have hit Twitter in the last hour or 2 hours or so. He's somebody I've been looking at along with his strike partner at Ajax Amsterdam in Brian Broby. But we're only going to talk about Mohammed Kudus today. Another reason that I'm going to do this is obviously I don't know if we're going to sign him. I don't know if there is any interest. Don't even know if the rumor is true or not. But the person that first floated it out there on the internet was called Don Mitchell, at Don7 Mitchell. You can find him there. He says he's Africa's most famous insider. I don't know. He messaged me before I tweeted to say that he's got information about Aston Villa to the Aston Villa and Kudus, got information directly from his family with regards to that. I don't know how true it is. I don't know how false it is, but I just found that really interesting that that he messaged me with regards to it. He has been correct previously on Mwepu, I think it is, that moved to Brighton. And he broke news about Kamara moving to Brighton. I think it was last season, but that one obviously didn't come off. So look, we'll see where this one falls. Don't know whether it's going to come true or not, as I say, but we'll have a look at Mohammed Kudus because he's a super talent, and there's been a lot written about him. There's been a lot said about him over the last, probably more so the last 12 months. People have known about him from his time in Denmark. Everton really wanted to get him when he was at Denmark. I remember reading that previously. Everton were like banging the drum for him at when he was at Nordland, and they obviously didn't get him, and he went to Ajax for, I think it was 9 million. And he went to Ajax, but we'll talk about him because positionally he's very versatile. Rotates all the way across the front line. Well, mostly on the right hand side. He has. It's an interesting one because from his time in Denmark, he would have really played as that number 10, that attacking midfielder. Then he moves to Ajax. He plays on the right hand side. He plays as that 10. He plays as a false 9, which we're going to look at in a moment. Because I think if he's coming into Aston Villa, he's obviously going to take in that position beside Ollie Watkins that we've spoken about, the one that Leon Bailey has occupied, the one that Buendia has occupied, and so on. And I'll tell you why I think that in a moment. He's also played quite a lot at central midfield as an actual number 8 as well within this Ajax team. And I think he probably sees himself as an 8 or 10. But like if you're after having the season that you've just had where you scored goals, it's very difficult to kind of pair yourself back. I think he saw himself originally as an 8 or a 10, but I think after the season that he's just had, it's very difficult to pair yourself back from scoring. I think it was 11 goals in the league, 4 goals in the Europa League, and 1 in the Champions League. He scored 16 goals all in all. I can't remember what competitions they were in. So he is very, very interesting, and we will talk about him. And as I say, it was interesting that I got a DM from the person who then went on to tweet it online. So I don't know why he picked me. But anyway, that's something that just kind of sparked my interest on it. Anyway, let's take a look at him. As always, I've got slides. So I'm going to pull him up here and put up the slides, should I say here. But first of all, before I go on to chat about him, there's a wonderful, wonderful Athletic article. If you are subscribed to the Athletic, you'll be able to read it. It's from 22nd of March this year. Now, I had seen these quotes before, but it was interesting because Dutch legend Marco van Basten, in a TV interview, when Anthony signed for Manchester United, Van Basten was on record as saying, no, United have got the wrong guy. They should have gone for Kudus. And he said that he's much better footballing technique and he knows what he's doing. He's more made for the Premier League. And it's an interesting take because, we saw Mohammed Kudus in the World Cup. I think he got 2 goals against South Korea, and he really kind of introduced himself for that Ghanaian team into, I suppose, into a lot of people's living rooms during that World Cup as well, because he was one of Ghana's better players during the course of the World Cup too. He's had I won't say it's not a difficult time since he moved to Dutch football, but he's had 2 different seasons. Like last season, if I'm not mistaken, I think he had something like 14 shots in the whole season. I think it might have been 20 shots, apologies, and 14 of them were on target in the whole season last season. In the first 12 games, he had 20 shots. And in the first 12 games of the season, this season, he had 20 shots. So what happened in the difference between those is Ten Hag left the club, and obviously they brought in they brought in his replacement, Johnny Heitinga, and what's the other guy's name? Was it Schroeder, I think. So basically, he was utilized completely differently. He was pushed further forward. He was given more of an outlet to kind of get that ball and drive forward from a more elevated position in the field. It's interesting. Like if you've seen anything on him, he can dribble the ball. He's one of the more effective dribblers. He's very much a direct dribbler, a straight dribbler of the ball. He's not one of these people who cuts in off the wing an awful lot when he's dribbling. When he gets it, he's very much a run forward and type of player, but he's really successful at it. He does get dispossessed quite a lot, and you kind of expect that for somebody who's been played in that false nine, played as a centre forward, being played as a right winger, being played as an attacking midfielder, being played as a central midfielder. He gets played around in these different positions. And that Athletic article, I think it is, you'll be able to see, he's got a breakdown of the minutes that he played in 2022-23, the share of minutes. 39% of minutes that he played was as a striker or a false nine. 34% of the minutes that he played were on the right wing, and 17% of the minutes that he played were actually as a traditional 8 in the center of midfield. So interesting kind of breakdown, and shows his versatility. Shows he's able to do an awful lot with the ball, because he's very he's press resistant with the ball when he's back to goal, but also when he loses the ball, or if he has to do a defensive job up top, he is very good at pressuring defenses. If you go back and you watch, there's was it this season or was it last season Ajax played Liverpool in Europe, and he scored against Liverpool anyway. If you go and you watch that goal, you'll see how kind of differently what he can do in the box here. He's very, very good close control. Ball comes into him, I think it was Steven Berghaus, plays the ball into him from the left hand side, and I remember that because he's always a player that I always kind of wondered why he was playing at Ajax. But the Dutch teams like to recycle players, and when they get them in, like the big teams sometimes recycle players from other teams within the league. But he did a job for them. He got that ball into Mohammed Kudus, who shifted the ball with his left foot out of the way of Virgil van Dijk and stuck it in the top corner. So like he can do multiple different things with the ball, and I think I think now that he's kind of got the scoring bug, if for want of a better word, I think he's probably in his own mind, his days of moving back to that central midfield, that number 8, are probably gone. Because look, people who score goals get paid lots of money, and at the end of the day, money is a massive driver in a lot of players' minds. Speaking of money, he's valued at about 40 million. And any article I've seen that says it's about 40 million. I'm going to come to your comments before I see this. Yeah, so Martin Leonard is asking, I'm literally seeing this where we linked what sources it come. It came from Football Africa. It's on Football Africa, but it also came from a guy called Don Mitchell, who just messaged me out of the blue, and then next thing he had it up online, and Football Africa picked it up from there. I've no idea if there's any truth in this, but let's talk about it anyway. Christopher Gonzalez said, I'm confused as to what type of attackers we're going after. We haven't been linked to any true strikers, Tammy aside. That's because we will probably play with that other support striker up top with Ollie Watkins. And who's to say I personally don't think we only bring in one striker. I think we bring in 2. But I think that Unai Emery is a fan of having experience up top so I think essentially what I'm trying to get here is whoever we bring in is going to play alongside Ollie Watkins may not be that 21, 22-year-old striker. I think it's going to be somebody who's a bit more experienced, who knows how to play that role, can come on, can give Ollie Watkins a 15, 20-minute, 30-minute break. I'm not saying somebody like an Eden Dzeko who's 37 years of age, but I think we will sign a central striker, and I think we will sign somebody like a Mohammed Kudus or somebody like I can't remember who else we've been linked to with regards to that. Will come in as well, because I think the attacking positions, and the versatility within the attacking positions, I think, is something we look for. And Kudus has that. He can play on the right hand side. He can play that false nine. He can play a 10, and he can play as a central striker as well. So I think versatility is something that Unai Emery is really, really going to look for. And hopefully he gets it, because I, for one, am also looking for versatility up top too. Yeah, so it's between ourselves and Brighton. Apparently, the rumor goes 40 million is the asking price, and 40 million apparently is something that both teams are willing to pay. As I say, I don't know how true or how false this rumor is, but if somebody like Mohammed Kudus came in, I think when we look at these statistics in a moment, and we talk a small bit more about how he plays, it'll become more and more interesting. So let's take a look at him here and how he kind of stacks up against the likes of Leon Bailey, Philippe Coutinho, and Emi Buendia, players who've been played alongside Ollie Watkins, I suppose, over the course of last year. So he's I'm after messing up his shots. Obviously, what I'm after doing here is taking his tackles per 90 at 1.25, and I'm after putting that in where his shots should be. So his shots are absolutely fantastic, 3.46, taking more shots than any of the players that we have there. Disregard the graphic that you see there. This line here should be, that green line for under shots per 90 should be way up to the top. So he's up in the top 4% of all wingers / strikers. Well, wingers, actually. These are statistics I've taken against the wingers. He's up in the top 4% of those in all of Europe. On target rate at 39.1% puts him in the top quarter of all strikers in Europe. His shot and target percentage. I've seen to that too. There it is. Yeah, so it's still shots on target. I just mixed up the two of them there. 1.36, and then shot on target is 39.1%. See, I badly need, and I asked on the podcast if anybody was good with code, so I could just fill in the information and it wouldn't make a mess on my stat sheets here. And somebody came back to me and said they were, but I lost the message. So if you're listening to this, please reach out to me on Twitter, and we'll chat, because I've had a go at trying to code it myself, but I can code about as good as I can put statistics into a manual sheet here, as you guys can see. So I do apologize. Anyway, in a nutshell, when we look at him against the likes of Emi Buendia, Philippe Coutinho, and Leon Bailey, he stacks up better in the areas of shots, of shots taken, his shots on target percentage, his pass percentage, his dribble success rate. So all these real attacking kind of statistics he is better in. Obviously, when we look down at the dispossessed stats, he gets dispossessed more than any of those players as well. So with great attacking intent and with great ability to be able to progress the ball forward, does come the potential to lose that ball as well. So it is something that we that you just have to bear in mind. I want to say that I am all for this guy. I think a player like this is something that Unai Emery needs within this team. Leon Bailey obviously is kind of like this player, but he has been hit and miss during the course of the season, and there's no way to kind of sugarcoat that, I suppose, really. He's had some important goals. He scored goals at the start of the season, came into it then again at the end of the season, but we only have one Leon Bailey in the team. We only have one out and out winger, and when Leon Bailey's form was low, we had no one that could even slot into that position, really. So even bringing in somebody like Mohammed Kudus, play him up front, up beside Ollie Watkins, maybe allows Leon Bailey to ease his way into the season next season. There isn't as much pressure on him, and likewise, if Kudus isn't firing, we have a Leon Bailey that could come in there. And I still think that even if somebody like Mohammed Kudus comes in, we would have another winger will come into the team as well. I think. Because I think we're going to be very active in striking positions, in forward positions, should I say. I've said previously, I think even with Yuri Tielemans coming in, I think we could see maybe another 4 to 5 players come into this team, and that's not including a backup goalkeeper. So let's move on here and let's see how he stacks up here against Harvey Barnes. I still have the same mistake here with the shots because I've just overlaid one on the other. So takes more shots than Harvey Barnes. His shot on target percentage is lower than Harvey Barnes. Harvey Barnes was a shot machine last year. He creates more shot creating actions in and around the same goal creating actions. Gets dispossessed an awful lot more than Harvey Barnes. Dribbles the ball almost 3 times better or successfully almost 3 times the rate of a Harvey Barnes and has a better pass percentage. So once again, as I said, the shots at the very, very top there, that should be actually off my chart there. But I've plotted it on the wrong part of the graph. So where he shapes up against the Harvey Barnes is he kind of beats him out in every category aside for his shot on target percentage, and obviously he gets dispossessed more than Harvey Barnes because he gets dispossessed more than the majority of players within Europe. But then again, he tries more dribbles, and he tries to progress the ball more than nearly anybody within Europe as well. So he's a very progressive thinking player. So those 2 slides. I had another slide which I actually have completed, but it doesn't seem to have loaded up on the screen there. Let me just try and fill that because I wanted to show him and how he kind of stacks up against the strikers that we have as well. Because as I say, I think there's a good chance that he's going to play. He's going to play up top quite a bit against our strikers. So just let me just load up this, and as I'm loading it up, I'm going to talk a small bit about him as well. So as I say, he's had a couple of different managers. He's played in a couple of different positions this season, and his trip to his trip to Ajax has I suppose kind of, I'm not going to say he was expedited in coming to Ajax, but it was he coming to Ajax for him. He was extremely young. It was for a massive fee, and he was kind of thrust into it a small bit. Didn't play an awful lot in the Eerste Divisie, which is the second division with young Ajax. He went almost directly straight into their first team. Yes, he did play a bit there, but there was a lot put on his shoulders straight away. As I say, he played with the likes of Anthony. He's played this season with Brian Broby, and he is he's shown his talent, and that World Cup, as I said previously, that World Cup is something that he has kind of under his belt. The Everton piece was an interesting one because they actually bid for him. They bid for him 2 seasons in a row. I don't know what they bid for him. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. So, like, the links to the Premier League have been there, and that's what I'm trying to get at here with regards to this. The links to the Premier League have been there, and I think it's somewhere whereby he's probably wanted to come himself. He probably sees himself playing in the Premier League, and why not? As I say, it is apparently the best league in the world, and if you want to earn money, coming to the Premier League is certainly the place to come to. I apologize, my slide here is just taking its time to load up here, but I'm going to bring this off, and I should be able to load up the next slide here. If you'll just bear with me one moment. So, my computer. Interesting. It won't let me load it as a slide, so I'll have to load it as an overlay. Apologies, everybody. There, we will pop this one back up here for you. You should be able to see it in a moment. So here we go. This is what he looks like against our current strikers. So takes far and away more shots than any of the 2 previous strikers that we had playing in 2023, Ollie Watkins or Danny Ings. Ball recoveries up there. I would expect these ball recoveries to be an awful lot higher at 5.42, considering he's played central midfield, right wing. He's also played in that kind of false 9 role, coming back a small bit more. Shot creating actions an awful lot higher. I would expect that also from his from playing out on the right hand side. He'd have a lot more creativity. One of the really interesting things about him as well is he barely crosses. When he crosses the ball, it's like for a striker, it looks great there at 76%, because obviously you wouldn't expect your strikers to be crossing the ball. But for a winger or for a midfielder, he doesn't cross that ball an awful lot for a winger or midfielder. So when you think about him as being that wide player and that dribbler. He is very good at dribbling, but he's very much direct at get to the box and try and get into the box, which I like in a player as well. So ball recoveries, I said there, shot creating actions are right up there. Goal creating actions coming in around the same as the incumbents that we had. His scoring frequency is once every 165 minutes, which was better than the two guys that we had previously. Chances missed, he missed 13 big chances last season. As you can see, Danny Ings, when he was with us, missed very few chances. Ollie Watkins, as the year went on, began to miss less and less. I think he came in at 11. Goals per shot ratio is a bit lower than everybody else there at 0.16. Shots on target ratios comes in at about 39%. As we know, Ollie Watkins had one of the best shots on target ratio last season in the Premier League. So all in all, he takes more shots. He's more shot creating actions. He's got very, very press resistant when he gets the ball at his feet, but he can also press people, as we can see here by his ball recovery. So he's got that work ethic to be able to press high up the field and to work in that defensive nature as well. So it's kind of a really interesting one. I don't know if it's going to come true. I haven't a clue. But as I say, if he's somebody that Villa are looking at, he's got a bag of tricks that can the number one transfer to the Premier League. I think that's fair to say. But also there are a set of attributes that will raise eyebrows, I suppose, with regards to his play on the field. Because all you got to do is look at him. He's got that direct running style, and his goal output from the last season was impressive also. So he's somebody that we would definitely not say no to, because we're lacking in the striking department. He's 22 years of age. I think he's ready to really kick on. I think he's Premier League standard for sure. So if Aston Villa were to bring in Mohammed Kudus, we would go into more detail on him. But as I say, I had this piece done, so there's a reason why a lot of those graphs were incorrect, was because I had this done to do with his strike partner Brian Broby as part of his scouting series, but obviously I hadn't quite finished the slide, or I hadn't re-looked at the slide again, should I say, before I redid up his shots there on that radial graph. But yeah, let's go back to some of your comments there and let's see what you guys where else are we on that? I think there's a 65 million I saw there. I think that's about Pau Torres. Yeah, there's Villa Report mentioned this evening that we were considering paying the release fee for Pau Torres, which would be massive money, which would be huge. Because if we have that money to throw around, as I say, I still think we're going to bring in 4 to 5 players over the course of the season, over the course of the off season. So if we're spending 65 million on one player, then and we need other areas to bring players into. It's going to be an interesting off season, I think, for sure. Where else are we? Sell Traore back to Ajax as part of the deal, says she. Sell Traore back to Ajax as part of the deal. Maybe they don't want him back. Maybe they do. He's probably played some of his best football. Could be an interesting one. And yeah, so there's a couple of people say, so Shane says here as well, Shane Mead says lots of similarities with when we signed Bailey. Not really, only the dribbling, only the fact that he was a dribbler. Leon Bailey didn't have, from memory, I don't think Leon Bailey had anywhere near the shooting prowess. He certainly didn't score the same amount of goals as Mohammed Kudus, and he didn't have that versatility to play right up top. One of the biggest things with Leon Bailey, I remember when he signed, was Peter Bosch, who ironically went on to manage Ajax at one stage as well. He was Leverkusen manager, and Bailey and himself didn't really see eye to eye because he played Bailey as a wing back at times. And Bailey wanted to be further forward, to get further forward. So I think in his mind, he wasn't getting that attacking positioning that he wanted, and he moved to Aston Villa, and he's been playing in that attacking position. Still think he's finding his feet in the league. The injuries in season one didn't help him. Last season he had a crushing and crumbling lack of confidence at times. I certainly think he's staying around this year, and I think we're adding to our squad as opposed to subtracting from it massively. But somebody like Mohammed Kudus has a different skill set. He's not, as I said, he's not your out and out winger like Leon Bailey is. This guy has really played as a number 10 or a false 9 over the course of the last season, that support striker role. And I think that's what Unai Emery is looking for up top with Ollie Watkins, because he needs somebody to do the work around there as well with Ollie Watkins, like he did with Buendia last season. Yeah, so I think it is. So British Mick says, would you like him to Adama Traore? No, I wouldn't. I still wouldn't. The Adama Traore is, while he's powerful and he runs straight, that's all he has. That's all he has. Like, this guy has played central midfield. This guy actually played predominantly central midfield when he first came in, broke into the Ajax team. Then central midfield, kind of right midfielder, right wing, kind of that kind of area. It's only this year he's kind of been pushed further forward into that striker role, and he's gotten the goals to prove himself, I think. I think he's gotten that those goals, should I say, to prove himself. I'm going to leave it at that, everybody, because it is a Saturday night and it's coming close to 10 o'clock. Yeah, but look, who knows whether this is going to come true. Just thought it was an interesting one. It seems to have broken recently, very recently this evening. We'll keep an eye on it. We'll see what happens. But if this is the caliber of player, this is the type of player with the attributes and idiosyncrasies that Unai Emery is looking at, and it seems to be that we're looking for that support striker more than that out centre forward just at the moment. The likes, as I say, of the Nico Williams of this world, who obviously is more of a winger. Harvey Barnes, I think, if he comes to Aston Villa, will be used more inside a small bit more, and they will just go to him, do what you did at Leicester last season, get some goals. And obviously, this guy, I think, as well has that experience of playing up top as well. So, yeah, it's a really, really interesting time. Still have no handle really on what Unai Emery wants for this team. And I like it because it keeps us all guessing. But I do think that we will probably see some action in the transfer market over the next week or two, prior to obviously going out to the States. And now that we've got the kit launched, they now have the ability to be able to show off players in the new kit, which I would imagine is something that small detail, but something that that is big for the club, I would imagine, from a branding point of view. So before this dog keeps on barking outside my window, I'm going to leave you all for the afternoon. Thanks so much, everybody, for listening and for watching. Until next time, stay safe, stay healthy. And all that's left to say is up the Villa.